Morning of January 9th and getting ready to do some habitat work today, what we call a native vegetation food plot. Now, 2 years ago, had a contractor we use a lot, fell all these feeders in here. And by the way, if you got more work than you can do, just write me at info@GrowingDeer.com and I'll hook you up with the contractor I use. We felled about 200 acres of cedars, not in this one spot, but 200 acres overall, just starting on the proving grounds to habitat improvement projects. Now I found that TSI, timber stand improvement, which can be felling cedars or hacking, squirting sweet gums or whatever, is the biggest way to make a big improvement on habitat quality right off the bat, because timber covers most of the property unless you're in ag country. So we felled them, but you can see they're shading out the ground, not much growing. That's just stage one, big part of manual labor. Stage two is using prescribed fire to convert, to get sunlight down to the ground, but to convert all the nutrients in these 20, 30, 40-year-old cedars. They've been taking up nutrients and convert that back to the soil so new lush growth can grow. So in a spring burn, and we're doing a dormant season, it's January 9th, dormant season burn now, because this is so much fuel. If these oaks in here had leaves and we burn this, we would kill most of them. But sap is still down in the root system right now, so we can burn, and we'll kill a few trees, but won't damage that many. If they got a hollow spot or deformed or the cedar pile's right next to them, we'll probably harm the tree, but otherwise they'll be fine. So we'll end up with the hardwood savanna, which is extremely productive habitat because it's grasses and forbs, like the native prairie, except a savanna is a prairie in timber country. And that's what this would have been naturally before the explorers were here. We've read those early explorer reports. So when you do a spring burn, you get more grasses in response, because if you think about grasses, they grew late through the growing season, then made a seed and fell. Now we're gonna burn, make some bare dirt just for a little bit. Those grass seeds right on top, they're gonna be the first to germinate and grow. We'll follow up a couple years from now with the growing season fire. That's the big overall plan, but we'll give you a lot more details throughout the day. Daniel and I out here burning, Drew, Seth, and got a guy helping us stay cold. So got a little teaching going on, but we'll want to get some work done, and we'll be bringing you updates throughout the day. 10 acres looks so nice and flat here, but you know the Ozarks, right over there about 100 yards, it drops off in a steep valley, a steep cove, and the wind's gonna swirl in there. So be a little bit of a challenging fire. We gotta knock it out. I've just dropped the first match, so to speak, got my lighter out and set a little fire here. Now it's pretty early in the morning and there was a heavy frost last night, so a lot of moisture on the ground, but I think it's gonna burn a little later. Just wanna start blacking out the top. This is the uphill. We're gonna be talking about the top being uphill north. There's a south wind today coming from behind me, so get this blacked out so it doesn't jump the line. You can see we've got a line here. We've removed all of the fuel off of the line. That's fire line. Of course, fire can't go without fuel and oxygen, so we can't take all the oxygen away, fortunately, but we can take all the fuel away. And just first fire of the year, always excited about that. So I lit one 15 minutes ago. You can see a little black over here, but it didn't carry. We're at that point where it's just enough humidity, still in the fine fuel of the leaves that won't barely carry. So got out here and sun a little bit. When it will barely carry, a lot of people make the mistake, well, barely carry, man, I'm gonna light up 200 yards. And then just within minutes, that humidity will change and it'll all carry and you have more fire than you want. So be patient when you're starting one, figure out the conditions for today. You can look at fire weather all you want, but there's nothing like on-site knowledge, knowing what's gonna happen throughout the day. So it's burning where I spread fuel. It's not spreading. It just, that's what I say when I carry. I lit this line right here. 20, 30 minutes now, it'll start eating off both ways, but right now it's just burning the fuel. What's up, Drew? Sun's hitting this corner over here, so I've got 60, 70 yards lit. It's starting to carry now. You can tell it's sustaining itself. We look at this line, it's going forward and going backwards. That's why we talk about carrying the fire. Fire is totally dependent on fine fuel. It's just a big log pile or something you work all day trying to get to burn. But when you got fine fuels, just get it lit. And as King Solomon wrote, fire's never satisfied. It just carry or just keep going.
And this is all that's keeping this fire on this side compared to this side, is this blown path that we used a backpack blower to blow all the leaf litter out, removed all the fuel. You remove the fuel, the fire can't go anywhere. So just use a backpack blower. This is only, you know, it doesn't have to be 10 feet wide. This is only about 6 feet wide in some places. But what we want to do is we want to blow all the fuel when we make this over onto this side. That way we don't have a lot of heavy fuel just right here on the edge where the wind picks up or whatnot and wants to blow across here, and then it'll just back nicely and go out when it hits the line, and the fire is doing its thing. Really have to watch these cedars. They like to throw embers. And we've got a little cedar right here. We are, I don't know, 5 feet from the line here. And you can see all the little embers, gray pieces that are kind of floating around and blowing back this way. And in fact, just a minute ago, that fire was just pushing that way with the wind. But now the wind's kind of changed and all the little embers are just kind of settling.
You can always just step behind the fire.
So what these guys are doing are they're actually watching not the fire, but back behind the line, making sure those embers don't go over and start a little hot spot on the other side. So we've got guys here, we're kind of watching this because the wind's kind of swirly. We got a lot of embers coming up and dropping back down. We're not watching the fire, we're watching over here. So that's a big part of working the fire line is keeping a good eye over on the unit, not only for fire, but smoke that may be a couple 100 yards over. It doesn't happen a lot, but it can happen. So you just got to be ready for it and be watching. Oh, there we go. Starting to hit a pile and back through very nicely. As you can see, so especially, we're not just trying to rip a head fire and get really hot and big flames. We want to back it into those cedars so it's very slow burning, consuming a lot of fuel, and it's under control, a little more under control for us. Of course, you know, conditions can change quickly, and I say control very loosely, but we want a low intensity fire backing and into the wind ideally. And that is looking great. You see, fire's gonna go where there's fuel, and a little heavier fuel on this side, so we've got a little larger flame, but and then that smoke is rising well and looks like it's pretty clear up there, which is what we want. We don't want it just hanging. So that smoke is acting very well with our conditions today. And this will go up, and then we'll hit a little gap and it'll go down, start creeping again until it hits another cedar and kind of flare up again. So this is kind of what we're expecting throughout the day. A flare up, down, creep, flare up, down, creep, and just let it go cedar to cedar.
Growing Deer is brought to you by Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's. Also by Green Cover Food Plots, Winchester, Lacrosse Footwear, Moultrie Mobile, Fleet Outdoor Apparel, Morel Targets, RTP Outdoors, Fourth Arrow, Hunt Stand, Scorpion Venom Archery, Case IH Tractors, Ward Laboratories, Burris Optics, National Land Realty, G5 Broadheads, Prime Bows, and Redneck Hunting Blinds.
Still southeast out here in the bull.
About 2 o'clock, fire's going well. I am on the eastern edge, and we have several cedars, just like this one right here, that are only, 5 feet, 10 feet from the fire line. Watching this edge going very slow. A lot of fuel right here on the edge. You can see a lot more right there. But what we're doing is we're lighting on the high side, just letting it back down, trying to keep that fire as low intensity as possible. And it's going well, and we still got a ways to go, so we'll see what happens. It's looking good though. You can see where back behind me here where it's burned. The entire burn is going very well. Of course, Grant's over on the west side. He's just hit a bunch of fuel, so going through that area slowly and just enjoying the fire. It's nice and warm. Well, we're on the southern corner. It's about 3:30. Fire's moving well. It's dried through the day. Humidity's dropped, and these cedars are really eating it. So just lighting and letting it back down. We've got a lot of fuel down here still. You can actually see way back there. That's on the north end, and it's backing down that slope. We kind of have a bowl right down in through here. So both sides, it's just a timing thing. We don't want to get ahead of it on one side or the other where it will start a head fire and rush up one slope. So we're just taking it slow, trying to time it just right so everything is just nice and even, backing all the way to the bottom. So hopefully we'll see you at the bottom, and it will all be black and we'll be good.
Most of my buddies in the hunting business hunt ag country, and I understand why. Bigger deer, a little easier, but this is kind of an example. Right here, the thermals are kind of woofing or even coming toward me, but up the hill, when you look on up here, you can clearly see right up here 30 yards, they're going that way strongly. I'm on what we call the thermal line, and I'm sure it's colder down in the bottom, cold air sinks, and when we get down there, the thermals are already rushing that way. But right up there, it hasn't been that long since the sun hit it, and the ground's still warm, and the thermals are going up. You look up there, the smoke is going up. So that's just part of hunting hills. You got to play the thermals, and I always tell people to hunt the ridgetop. Now, it's got a little breeze, and things are swirling in here. If you got a buck 80 yards away, the gig is probably up.
$7 o'clock, actually 7:30, I guess. And there we are. We're almost finished. Of course, humidity picked up, no sun. Thermals are kind of pulling down. It's cooler, so it's just creeping through here. So we're having to go through and hit the cedars and kind of strip it out, but it's coming on and it looks good. Maybe we won't be here at midnight. We'll see.
About 8:30 p.m., of course, and Daniel, Seth, Drew, and I are just finished walking this fire. There's a couple snags in the middle, like there always is. They're burned down tonight, but edges are all black. Fire's all out except for those snags or logs. So successful day. This was a tough fire because some curves and breaks in it that you have to go slow around. But it's the first of many here at the Proving Grounds 2 for this late winter, early spring, and this was a real successful fire. So we're going to be sharing more techniques and more examples because each topography and each field type requires different techniques. We're going to call this one a day, and of course we'll check it first thing in the morning. You know, understanding how fire moves across the land and reading the old explorers and how they talked about fire, either, you know, God said, lightning said, or Native American said, is a great way to understand native habitat. But even more important than that is that we all seek the Creator's will and apply it to our life daily. Thanks for watching Growing Deer.